What's up guys, welcome back to Deck Tech for Decks. I'm your host Caleb. If you want to support me, you can always use my TCGplayer link, or as always, liking and commenting and subscribing will do the trick. Now let's get into today's Deck Tech. We're taking a look at Narset, and this girl's honestly broken. All of our creatures are gonna get prowess. Now what that means is whenever we cast those non-creature spells, we're gonna buff our board up +1/+1. Additionally, she's gonna give us access to those non-creature spells in our graveyard, which can be pretty broken. Now, the way I took this deck is pretty simple. We're gonna play some young pyromancer effects, and we're gonna shove the deck full of instant and sorcery cards. That way, whenever we cast an instant or sorcery cards, not only are we getting a massive board state, but we're buffing that massive board state. Pretty simple. Create a massive board state with the instant and sorcery cards, and then next turn we're going to cast more instant and sorcery cards to buff our entire team up and deal a lot of damage, if not take out our opponents. So if that sounds like a deck tech you're into, let's get into it. Let's kick it off with those cards that either trigger on our instant or sorceries or those non-creature spells. Talrand Sky Summoner, Third Path Iconoclast, and Murmuring Mystic all trigger whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell. Let's not forget Young Pyromancer. Kaikar Wind's Fury is a little better than the previous options because he triggers on non-creature spells. We're going to get extra value off of this guy, not to mention we can sacrifice those spirit creature tokens to add some mana to our mana pool to help with our storm count. Monastery Mentor. This guy's absolutely game breaking in this deck because all of those little monks we're creating are going to have two instances of prowess, one from our commander and then their own instance of prowess. So they're going to get +2 every time we cast a non-creature spell. This can be game ending. Balmor Battle Mage. This guy's almost like another instance of prowess that we're going to give to our entire team, except for it's just +1/+0, but we will get trample on top of that, which is going to be extremely useful. Whirlwind of Thoughts. This is just going to draw us a card whenever we cast a non-creature spell. Jeskai Ascendancy. Another one that's going to buff our entire board up when we cast those non-creature spells. Additionally, it can give us a looting effect of drawing and discarding cards. Archmage Emeritus. This guy's going to be super solid for card advantage whenever we're casting those cantrips. Urabrask. This guy's going to add a lot of utility to the deck. On top of giving us a little bit of mana and dealing some damage to our opponents, if we flip this guy, we're going to get a soft board wipe on one of our opponent's boards, and then we're going to get some treasure tokens along with being able to cast instant and sorcery cards from anybody's graveyard. We then have the classic Stormkiln Artist. Harmonic Prodigy is also going to make an appearance in this deck. Out of all the cards we just talked about, 7 of them are either a wizard or shaman. You can go back and look for yourself, so we can double up on tokens, double up on card advantage, and double up on the mana we get from the Stormkiln Artist. Super solid card in the deck. Elish of the Infinite. This guy's just solid in storm decks, and he can go infinite if we get our Sensei's Divining Top on top of our library and lower the cost of our non-creature spells. Let's move on to our more cantrippy spells. We have Wren's Resolve and Reckless Impulse. Now these cards are straight up card advantage, but there are ways in the deck to get this down to 1 mana, so I figured I'd include them here. Frantic Search is just gonna dig you 2 cards deep, you discard 2 cards, and then you untap the lands you used to pay for it. I love it. Jessica's Will, we all know this one is powerful. We're gonna exile some cards, we're gonna add a lot of mana to our mana pool, and then we're gonna storm off. Faithless Looting can dig us 4 cards deep, and remember the cards we discard we can get back with our commander anyway, so we're not that hurt by it. Thrill of Possibilities, another discard outlet that can dig us deeper, right? Expressive Iteration, Brainstorm, and Ponder all give us the option to look at 3 cards and kind of manipulate our library a little bit. Expedite, Crash Through, Gitaxian Probe, Opt, and Consider are just straight up cantrips. Then we have Haze of Rage. This card can get insane in the deck because 1, it's going to buff our entire board, and then our commander's going to buff the entire board, and it also has Storm. Now, notably, the Storm effect won't trigger the Prowess because Prowess only triggers on cast, and copying a spell does not cast it, but it's still going to be notable that we get that Storm because we're just buffing our board bigger. It is worth mentioning with a Stormkiln Artist effect or Urabrask on the battlefield, we can get this to cost 0 and just cast it an infinite amount of times, and then we either end the game with all of our tokens or end the game by dealing damage with Urabrask. Anticipate, Telling Time, and Impulse are all a little more expensive cantrips, but they do dig us deeper. A Little Chat, we can sacrifice our tokens to get 2 copies of this, and that's going to up our storm count while also, digging us deeper. Windfall, perfect for when we run out of cards or we just need a completely new hand. It always comes in handy. Mind Splice Apparatus, a way to, reduce all the cost of our instant and sorcery cards without that much investment. We have Sensei's Divining Top, really good for manipulating manipulating the top of our library, or again, there is a way to go infinite with this, and it's just going to ensure that we have a non-creature spell to cast every turn. We also run Urza Lord Protector and the Mightstone and Weakstone. These are super solid cards. Urza just lowers all the cards we're going to be casting, because we are casting mostly instant sorceries and those artifacts. Then we have the Mightstone and Weakstone that are pretty flexible by themselves, and then when you add them with Urza, we just win the game. Moving on to the core of the deck, we have Zethi. This girl pulls her weight in this deck. We're going to exile all the instant cards from our graveyard and then cast them on attack. That's going to buff our entire board consistently every single turn with those prowess abilities. Lightning Greaves and Swiftfoot Boots just to protect our commander or any of our key pieces. Vile Duplication has a pretty insane interaction because we cast it, then when we attack with our Narset, we bring it back from the graveyard, cast it again for free, and then we end the turn with 3 Narsets. Now our entire team has 3 instances of prowess, and whenever we attack each turn, we're exiling 2 instant or sorcery cards from our graveyard to be able to cast. So pretty broken, honestly. Relentless Assault isn't as broken, but it kind of works the same way, right? You cast it, get an extra combat step, attack with Narset, exile it, and then you cast it again to get another combat step. So that will effectively give you 3 combat steps that turn, so it'll put you in a position to win the game, or if not, it will just win you the game. Fairy Mastermind is just solid card advantage, and then we have Urza's Saga. I put this mostly in the deck so we can search out the Divining Top and just start doing some broken stuff. Moving on to ramp, it's super simple. We have every single Signet we can play and every single Talisman we can play. This is gonna trigger our commander's prowess while netting us mana, so it's basically exactly what the deck wants to do. As always, we include Soul Ring, and then we can't forget Smothering Tithe and Mana Geyser. This is going to give us a lot of mana to just storm off in a turn. Moving on to removal, we have Chaos Warp, an Offer You Can't Refuse, Arcane Denial, Swan Song, just a super solid counterspell package. Counterspell, gotta include that. Snap, I like this for the Zethi. It's kind of like we throw Snap in the graveyard and then we're just turning something to their hand every turn. Additionally, watch someone play an 8-drop dragon and then you just snap it to their hand. They're gonna lose it. Brother's End, I really like this. We can destroy all artifacts with it with 3 CMC value or less. Yes, that does hit us pretty hard half the time, but sometimes it can hit them harder, especially in those treasure strategies or those very go wide token strategies that use artifacts. Additionally, it can be kind of a one-sided board wipe for the token strategies too. If we rack up enough prowess triggers, it's going to make our board unaffected by the 3 damage to each creature. Cyclonic Rift, super solid, had to include it in the deck, especially when we're bringing instant or sorcery spells back from our graveyard, right? River's Rebuke, I like this, right? We attack with our commander and we get the River's Rebuke back, and then we can cast it on another player at a later time. I love it. All right, guys, that's going to do it for the deck tech. I hope you guys enjoyed. As always, I hope this helped you in your deck building endeavors, and I'll see you in the next one.